So you have all these experiences as a chef and acting and being successful at both. And now you've moved into directing. After the career you've had so far, was there a defining moment or tipping point where the page turned and you said, I'm now going to devote myself to directing?
Yeah, and it wasn't, a nice one. It was the passing of my mum.
Mm,
Um, she passed away 5 years ago. And like I said before, I've been sober 6 years now. So I'd been sober for 1 year, and I was still working in kitchens. Um, and my mum passed away quite suddenly. It was an accident. It was a bit of a it was a well, not a bit of a shock. It was a complete shock for everybody. Um, and that a lot of my family and friends thought that I was going to go off the rails and completely go, you know, crazy, back on the booze, whatever. But I didn't. I went the opposite way, and um, I would call myself quite a spiritual person. I'm not. I don't. I was brought up Catholic. I don't really follow religion as such, but I am very spiritual, and I feel energy, and I certainly felt my mum's. I feel my mum's energy every day. Like it's crazy, and it just put everything into perspective.
when you
Yeah.
think of directors who you look up to, who do you think of?
I look up to directors like Shane Meadows, who's a British director. This is England. Those shows, incredible. Paul Greengrass is another one. Um, I mean, obviously the usual suspects: Tarantino, Scorsese, massively Scorsese. Because I grew up with Scorsese, watching his movies. Spielberg, again, the same.
Now,
Yeah.
having come from acting and not, like you said, going to, school to become a director, do you have a different level of respect for people who've kind of taken that path? Do you think that there's maybe something different that they bring to the table than the people who were quote unquote formally trained?
I mean, yeah, I guess so. I It's funny because when I decided I wanted to direct, the first thing I did was call, um, a good friend of mine. He was also in Band of Brothers, Bart Respoli, who's the producer of Boiling Point and Villain as well. We're very, very, very close friends. I called him, and he's been producing for many years. I think he did a few acting jobs after Band of Brothers, but then he went into producing. And I called him and said, "Look, I want to direct. This is what I want to do. I want to try. I want to give it a shot. Like, what do you recommend? Should I go to film school? And do you know any good film schools I should go to? I want to get it right." And he was like, How long have you been acting?" I was like, "Well, over 20 years." He was like, "You've been to film school. You've done the film school. Every set you've been on has been a film school." He said, "You can't teach that." He said, "You know how it works, right? You know about where to put actors, the marks, and about different camera lenses." And I was like, "Yeah, I do know. I know all of that. Yeah, no, And he's like, "Well, you don't need to go to film school." He said, "And what's good about it is you've come from an acting background, so I understand actors, and I can relate to actors, and also how to approach them as well, because you know every actor is different as well, and everyone has a different, technique how they work. So you've got to sort of adapt to that." And I've worked with some really bad directors. I didn't realize they were at the time. But looking back, you're like, wow, how did you get away with that? Um, so yeah, I mean, I guess it's just two different. Don't get me wrong. There's directors who go to film school and they come out and they're amazing and they can, but it is. They, I don't think they could teach you, um, what I've learned as an actor, being on that side of it, and how to approach actors, and that's a big, big thing for me. I would call myself an actor's director. Because I like to collaborate with my team about, Matt Lewis, who's been the cinematographer on everything I've done. Him and I have got this shorthand together now where we just He knows what I like. I go, I love, I just wanted that with a bit of, and I'll just give him these crazy like words, and he'd be like, oh yeah, no, I know what you mean, yeah. And then he'll show me the shot, and I'll be like, oh, perfect. That's exactly what I was looking at.
So let's chat a little bit more about your film Boiling Point, which is
Sure.
getting a lot of buzz and positive press for the performances, directing, and cinematography. Where did the story for this come from? I understand it had some basis on your background in the restaurant business. Um, tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, as I said earlier, I was when I was in that world of hospitality and chefing, I witnessed so many highs and lows, and you know, I've seen a lot of stuff and witnessed a lot of stuff. So I had always thought to myself, God, this world is so rich for to explore as a medium, whether it be film or TV or whatever. I know it's been done before. I've watched many films set in that world, and TV shows, especially over here in the UK. But most of them have been either comedy, which is great, fine. There's a lot of funny stuff that happens in that world, um, or they haven't quite hit the mark in terms of like the realism for
Or,
me.
or attempts at reality shows that,
Yeah,
yeah, is it really, you know, how
exactly,
much of it's
exactly,
really reality show?
exactly. So I'd always thought, you know what, if I was going to get into directing, they say, and also writing as well, they say write about what you know. So I just thought, I'm gonna write a little short film about this world, and I brought on James Cummings, who is now my writing partner on many things that we're doing together.
And this was done and this was done in one take,
Yeah, yeah,
essentially.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I,
So and the feature was done in one take as well. Um, so we so the next person I wanted to speak to was Matt Lewis, the cinematographer, and say, look, this is how I want it to look. I want it to be quite erratic and fast paced, and overlapping dialogue, and slightly improvised. And so we talked about various different ideas, and he was just like, "What about trying to do it in one shot?" I was like, "Whoa, okay, that's crazy." And then the more I thought about it, I was like, "Okay, yeah." So in the short, we basically just followed Stephen Graham's character, the head chef, for the whole 20 minutes. We never. So the rule was we weren't allowed to leave him. So the camera has to follow him everywhere he goes, and it worked great. The film, the short was great. It was nominated for a BIFA award over here, and it won a couple of awards. I won best director for in a film festival over here and stuff, and it was, the traction was amazing. So I'd always sort of had the idea of maybe doing something that's slightly longer, a longer form movie in that set in that world, but I hadn't really thought about how we could do it. And off the success of the short, I was like, okay, maybe we can do the short 20 minutes could be the opening sequence for the feature, and then we can go into his recovery, and his basically like me, and
Mhm.
going down that road. And I literally sat up in bed one night and sort of thought, if we could do the feature in one take, but not just follow Stephen's character, follow various different other characters as well, and show sort of pockets of little vignettes of life, and in an hour and a half, then and it was really exciting me. So I got on the phone with James, the writer, and I was like, this is the idea I've had, what do you think? And he was like, he got excited. Then I called Stephen Graham. I said, do you fancy doing this? We're going to expand the short into a feature. We're going to do it all in one take. He's like, you are absolutely crazy, but yes, I'm so excited. And then obviously the person I had to get on board was Matt Lewis, the cinematographer. I said, how do you feel about doing it? Another one take thing, but 90 minutes worth. And then we talked about maybe him, maybe passing the camera off to another camera operator, and they carry it on. And so he doesn't have to carry the camera for 90 minutes. And then he sort of said to me, look, if we're going to do this, I'm going to do it all. We found the location for the feature, which is a good friend of mine's restaurant in London. he let us have the restaurant for 4 weeks, where we could rehearse for 3 weeks, and then we shot it for well, it was originally supposed to be 4 nights, where we'd do it twice per night, um, in its entirety. So we'd shoot for an hour and a half, have a break for 3 hours, shoot again. So we gave ourselves 8 goes at it, but because of COVID, we had to shut down 2 days early, and so we had 4 shots at it. And
Now, was the
yeah,
restaurant available because of COVID?
no, no, no. COVID was just whisperings at that point.
Uh,
It wasn't. There was no lockdown. The lockdown happened like 4 days after we wrapped. Well, we
wow.
shut down early.
Philip, we got to go to a quick commercial break, pay the bills. Can you stick around till after the break?
Absolutely, I'd love to. Yeah.